So what if I told you that doing well with money has almost nothing to do with how smart you are, and everything to do with how you behave? It's a pretty wild idea, and it's the core concept we're digging into today from the psychology of money. Honestly, it flips a lot of what we think we know about finance right on its head.
And to really get it, we've got to start with a true story about two guys, a janitor and a top-tier finance executive. You'd think you know how this story ends, right? Well, their financial lives went in the complete opposite direction you'd expect, and it tells us basically everything we need to know about the psychology of money. Okay, so check this out. On one side, we've got Ronald Read. He spent his days fixing cars and sweeping floors. Simple life. On the other side, Richard Fusconi, Harvard MBA, Merrill Lynch executive, living in an absolutely massive mansion with 2 pools and 11 bathrooms. I mean, on paper, this isn't even a contest. But then, Ronald Read passed away in 2014, and everyone who knew him was just floored. This quiet, humble janitor had secretly, patiently, built up an $8 million fortune, and he left almost all of it to his local hospital and library. So you have to ask, right? How on earth is this possible? How does a janitor with zero financial training end up a multi-millionaire philanthropist while the Wall Street hotshot goes bankrupt? And just to be clear, this wasn't some lucky lottery ticket. It was something else entirely.
The answer isn't in some complicated financial formula or textbook. Nope, it's found in psychology. And this gets us right to the heart of the book, to this one simple truth that kind of changes how you look at money forever.
And here it is. This is the whole game. Financial success isn't a hard science, it's a soft skill. What author Morgan Housel is saying here is that your behavior, things like your patience, your ego, how you react to fear, that stuff is way, way more powerful than what you know about spreadsheets and market analysis.
And this just lays it out perfectly. We're taught to think about money like it's physics, with these fixed rules and laws and formulas. But the reality, it's all psychology. Our real financial decisions aren't made on a spreadsheet. They're made at the dinner table or late at night, and they're driven by greed, fear, insecurity, and optimism. It's messy, it's human.
So that leads us to the first big idea from the book, and it's a bit of a mind-bender. It's the concept that no one is crazy. And once you see the world through this lens, it helps make sense of why people do the things they do with their money, even when it looks totally bonkers to the rest of us.
I mean, come on, we all see it. People buying lottery tickets with their last few dollars or taking out a huge loan for a car they can't afford. From the outside looking in, you just think, that's completely irrational. That's crazy.
But here's the big twist the book offers. No one is actually crazy. Every decision they make from their own unique point of view makes perfect sense to them at that moment.
See, we each live in our own financial reality. Your personal, hands-on experiences with money are so much more powerful and persuasive than any lesson you could learn from a chart or a book. Those experiences build this mental model of how the world works, and that model is incredibly hard to shake. And think about all the things that build that model that you have zero control over. The decade you were born, where you grew up, how your parents talked about money, the economy when you were coming of age. All this stuff gives you a set of lessons about risk and savings that is completely unique to you. Nobody else on the planet has your exact same view.
Let's look at a really clear example of how this actually plays out across different generations. This really drives the point home.
So get this. If you were born in 1970, the stock market went up almost 10 times during your teens and 20s. You grew up thinking stocks were this incredible, unstoppable engine for creating wealth. But if you were born just 20 years earlier, in 1950, you saw the market go basically nowhere for your entire youth. It was just flat.
Of course not. There's no way. One person is going to see stocks as a golden opportunity. The other sees them as a pointless gamble. And here's the key. Neither one of them is crazy. They're just logical products of two completely different personal histories. And no amount of reading in a book can ever replace the emotional punch of actually living through something. John F. Kennedy, who grew up very wealthy, famously said this. He understood the Great Depression intellectually, sure, but he never felt the gut-wrenching fear that shaped an entire generation's view of money for the rest of their lives.
So, okay, our personal experiences are limited. We get that. But on top of all that, we have to remember something else that's really important. The entire modern financial system is incredibly young. We're all basically just making this up as we go along.
I mean, just look at this timeline for a second. The 401k, which is like the foundation of American retirement, didn't even exist until 1978. The Roth IRA, it was born in 1998. That's younger than a lot of people out there. We talk about these things like they're ancient pillars of finance, but they're brand new.
So what does all this mean? It means we're all, every single one of us, winging it. We're part of this giant, ongoing experiment, and we have very little long-term history to guide us. So is it any surprise that we struggle with this stuff? We've had basically no time, evolutionarily speaking, to get good at it.
So what's the big takeaway here? I think it boils down to this question. The next time you see someone make a financial choice that you just don't get, or maybe even more importantly, the next time you beat yourself up over one of your own, just stop, pause, and ask, what's their story? What experiences and lessons led them to this point? Understanding that everyone has a story might just make you a kinder, more empathetic, and a much, much smarter person with your money.